Hello again, welcome back to Asgard, and welcome back to Celestial Journey. So today we have the base tour and the world upload, of course. Now, originally I had mentioned I was planning on putting shaders in for the world upload, but I decided against it. I did test around with shaders, but I decided against it because I tried a number of different shaders, but all of them resulted in... I've mentioned before in the past, and I've had questions about shaders a lot, but generally with modded, they result in visual bugs that just drive me insane. And the same was very true in my testing. I tested, I think, six different shaders, but all of them had visual bugs, mainly related to Botania, that I didn't like. So I decided not to do shaders because of that, because they will drive me insane. I finally got to the prison to a point where structurally, visually, it's pretty well done. I still need to add a bit more on the statue side, and I still probably need to go through and hit it with some more barrels and things like that, just some general clutter, but I think it's pretty good for right now. So anyways, we're going to get started. Of course, down there is most of our base. We're going to be working out here, hopefully between this base tour world upload and the next base tour world upload, working out here a bit and cleaning up our tracks and making them look a bit better and all that good stuff. Of course, up here is a structure that we need to finish out this whole exterior area, but I do want to show you this, which is still a little bit of a mess at the moment. Just kind of left over from when we actually lived here for a bit. In my old drawer system, which can go at this point and probably be reframed. But anyways, I've kind of left this for the first world upload because this was our old base of operations. We're still going to be doing a bit of work out here, but most of our base, of course, is all underground. So let's go ahead and head to the bulk of the base. And of course out here it's going to be kind of like an abandoned mining town. Or not even necessarily town, but mining, like an abandoned mine, so to speak. And the idea is that, of course, they've uncovered this portal, and this was our starter home, by the way. Our hole in the wall down to the mine. This is still going to be used, yeah, a bit. But we're going to build a few other mines. We'll still use this for manual mining. And, of course, here is our oreberry area. This one, we're going to be building a new proper one and automating it here very soon. But yeah, I think that's the majority of the stuff outside here. There's not a whole lot outside, of course. Oh, and just for memory's sake, right down there was our old source of food, which of course was clams. It's not actually plugged up at the moment. I have torn that down long ago. But that's where it was. So, anyways, if we head inside... to the base proper, which of course this entrance area is still a bit of a mess. This is another area where we're hopefully going to be working on between this world upload and the next, because one of our next objectives is going to be working towards flight. And of course, before we get started, we should go ahead and mention the rules for our playthrough. Flux fields are only power gen. We started with one combustion engine, of course, just to get us up to where we could make flux fields, but since then it's all flux field based power and no lazy setups, which means nothing going for function over form, and just kind of just being like, we'll just set this up, is the goal. Also no tesseracts, etc., unless needed for performance reasons. If we need to set something up off-site for performance, then in that case we might use tesseracts, but other than that, hopefully no tesseracts. Focus on alternative methods where possible, like with our ore processing. We try to do things a little bit differently on here. Also no AE2, Corporea is the name of the game. So of course all of our item storage and auto crafting is through Corporea and nodes basically. And then later on, Thaumcraft golems, we'll use a bit of those as well. Also, one of our goals is no setup backup. That's not entirely fulfilled at the moment. It's all intended to be no setup backup, but due to world startup issues with the wireless redstone, it's not. It hasn't worked out completely correctly. So, but of course that is some of the rules of our playthrough, and some of the stuff that we're going to be working on after this world upload in the upcoming episodes, of course, is latex processing, automating the wither, between lands quarry for building materials, berry harvesters, wheel automation, orchid, and flight, as well as a number of other things for sure. We're also going to be automating the rest of blood magic and stuff. But anyways, on to the base proper. So, of course, our theme within the series is a very swampish inspired kind of take on Carcosa. And all underground, the portal, of course, being like you went to an alternate dimension, so to speak. So let's go ahead and pop down. We're going to be redoing a bit with these tracks because, of course, they don't really match up into the world at this point. A lot of work has been done. A lot of work still left to do at this point. And that, we've got to get back over there. That was one of our early setups, but it's still very unfinished. So anyways, our main entrance here, and of course we're going to be doing a bit more with tracks in general, hopefully between this world upload and the next. But anyways, this was our, and is our small little alchemy nook. It's not really our alchemy room necessarily, because we're going to be building a proper alchemy area, aside from the Alchemists Guild that we've already got in place. But this was kind of our little nook for self-sacrifice. So making potions for regenerative healing and stuff. So then let's go ahead. Of course, this was our original blood altar. We went with self-sacrifice to start, and have since moved on to full automated blood magic. But this was our starting altar and will forever remain a self-sacrifice based altar. We do have to finish building this out. I think it shouldn't be too hard at this point to go ahead and push on to at least a tier 5. So we'll get around to that before too long. So once we start doing our full blood magic automation, we'll get into that. And then this area here, of course, is our like little, I don't know, part of our sunken area. We're going to be working a bit more with kind of the sunken area and the flooded areas a bit between this world upload and next, hopefully. But we do have some lurkers that are going to go in here. The only reason they are not currently in here at the moment is because of the fact that it's not done. There's going to be a river that comes out right here, and then, of course, this is going to kind of come over and create sort of a bridge like what we've got over here. Maybe angled, I'm thinking, like to there, from here to there or something. That is the plan anyways. And then if we continue, should we do top or... we'll just go through the night market first. So night market, this area kind of splits off, which is going to eventually connect to our library. We'll go over there here in a minute. Statues, some of these aren't working like all the time. They kind of come and go. Like sometimes, like Isaka is pretty much always, her statue is pretty much always there, but some of these others will kind of come and go, you know, with each load they'll change. So but these are statues, of course, of some of you guys who have requested statues, and we have a lot more statues coming in before too long. So I just really didn't have the time, because actually setting up these statues sometimes takes a while. I just haven't gotten them done yet. I've been pretty much time crunching at the moment for getting the prison build pretty well done. That build has been massive. Also, my new PC came in, and sadly, kind of a little side note, sadly it didn't work out of the box. I had to do a little bit of troubleshooting with it before I get it working, and the reason was one of the hard drives actually got damaged during shipping, because the way it sets in the PC case, it sets down there at the bottom, and the pin that holds it in place came loose, and I'm pretty much blaming UPS, because when they delivered it, the box was upside down. So, you know, just judging from that, they probably shook it around a little bit. I'm not a big fan of UPS personally. I tend to have better luck with FedEx or even just the U.S. Post Office more so than UPS. So, but yeah, so I had to send the hard drive back in to get it replaced. The computer is working after removing that, but it wasn't booting because it was registering an issue with the hard drive. So, anyways, but the new PC is in. I'm not currently running on the new PC at the moment. But anyways, over here, this is our night market area. That's still work in progress. We still have to do a lot of the roof and some of the just kind of clutter along the streets and finish a lot of the streets, and we have a lot of work to do, but we've got a lot done so far. This is kind of our metals area, metals and gems and things like that that are stored over here inside those drawers. Over here is just blocks that are in this one. You can pretty much tell what's going to be in each one based on the item frames, though the item frames aren't on these back here just yet. Just because I haven't gotten them on there yet. And you can see Corporeal sparks all throughout. This, of course, gives us access to our Corporeal network. Back over here, this is the mob item, like mob drop area, where mob drops are theoretically kind of harvested on site a little bit, even though we will have a proper butcher build a bit later. But then mob items are stored in here. So, back in here, we have the portal area, which is very, very unfinished, with our current portals, Nether and Between Lands not included in this area. So, then, let's see, if we come over here, this is kind of our arcane area. For storage, of course, there's no item frames on this one or any decorative bits. Lighting still has to be finished and statue has to be put in. This was one of the things I really wanted to get done before the world upload, but I mean, I know you guys have been waiting for it for like a week, and I've been kind of doing other projects, kind of pushing it back, you know, and like, I mean, I've spent literally like over a week working on the prison, and steadily coming along, steadily. But anyways, this is kind of arcane stuff. So nodes are slotted here. Things like Ender air bottles and stuff like that is slotted over here. Now, continuing on, this is one of our plants area. You can kind of tell by the flower pots, but once again, still needs item frames and statues and just clutter stuff. This is another plant area, and this is actually where we slotted petals in our last episode. And of course, frame compacting drawers or frame drawer controllers, and there's also framed compacting drawers and controller slaves that are being used. Like here's a controller slave that's done up like a crate. And anyways, this is kind of our tech-ish type stuff, so things like conduits and also TNT and Skystone chests and all that stuff are slotted over here. Now if we continue, let's see. Well, let's continue the exterior stuff, and then we'll get into the interior stuff. Statue up there, which actually did render. However, this one is actually using the same skin, but it did not render, unfortunately. This building up here is the Alchemists Guild. Yeah, this area is very unfinished. That's actually where I dug out, because we're going to have kind of a rift that's opened up in the ground here eventually when we work on the city proper, which is one of our next big projects that we're going to be working on, is pretty much doing all this sealing and doing kind of the city proper, where this kind of expands out and there's buildings and stuff off in the distance that we go to for various, I don't know, automation and different little things. But that's the Alchemist Guild. We'll go in that in just a minute, and you can see kind of a little table set up here as if it's being sold, and it is our slate-based automation that's over here. And then over in here this is pretty much like decorative nook. I've actually got this in place. This is just a mod item filter set to match things from Architecture Craft that just get dumped into here. I may at some point add little tiles to that list, but I haven't made the full little tiles suite just yet. I've pretty much just made the chisel, and I have a bit bag somewhere. I've misplaced it and don't know where it went. This over here is for our fragments, as well as just general one-by-one crafting. That's just kind of keeping things in stock. Even though the wireless redstone I had to switch out because it was just mass-producing blaze powder. Finally got that switched out, and it seems to be running a bit better. You can see some of the automation down in here for that stuff. If we pop up, this is Cyclops eyes that are being compacted from our mob farms whenever we run Cyclopses. And this is our sorting system, basically. Of course, we don't have a quarry just yet, and a lot of these are filled up with just junk at the moment. That's just things that I don't have going anywhere, and it's just kind of a note to me. This is all the overflow I've really got, except for a couple block chests over there. And this is actually stuff from mob farms, but that's not currently slotted. But this is more just kind of a mental reminder for me, so I can't fill these up too much. I have to do something with most things as I go. So a lot of this stuff probably will never get slotted, like Potions of Swiftness, Magic Map, trophies. You know, they're going to get laid out, put out, but I'm not doing anything with that stuff at the moment. Now, if we step on through, over here we do have, this is our Bloodstone Automation, just pretty much where the output comes out. Occasionally I can see it running as I walk by, but of course it just only stocks so much and then it doesn't run, so it's really only whenever I'm using a bit of Bloodstone that it runs. You can see some automation down there. We're going to go down there here in a minute. So over here, this is our Betweenlands garden area that we set up in an episode a bit back, where I pretty much, oh, you can kind of see corporeal sparks poking through if you stand at the right angle. Haha. But anyways, this is kind of our Betweenlands farm area. So it basically mass produces, well, not mass produce, but it produces enough swamp reed that I can make plenty of compost to grow my plants for building purposes now. So, and then compost bins laid out for making compost. Back in here, we have the Alchemists Guild, which there's eventually going to be a little, probably elevator system that goes up to the roof, because we're going to have a little bit more automation up on the roof, but currently no automation up there at the moment. But anyways, these are just alchemy tables. I decided to go with dedicated alchemy tables for each craft, just because I know long term we're going to be using a lot of this stuff, and it'll kind of help us out just having dedicated. But anyways, things are being produced and they're being shown on the corporea crystal cubes here, which are red down below, and that tells it when to craft different things. Over here, of course, just a little plant area. No real purpose, just for looks. There's actually a redstone thing that causes that trapdoor to cycle ever so often. I need to probably do something about that. And then back in here, just more alchemy tables. So, and I need to make, I keep forgetting to make a facade for that. I'll try to remember to do that before I post the world. I'll try. And just in case I forget, I'm just going to put facade and alchemy there. And then down here we have, this is pretty much the output for blaze mesh and corporeal sparks being created. And then back in here, this is a lot of our behind the scenes kind of redstone area where a lot of our auto crafting happens. So like this side over here makes bloodstone tiles. Well, it's being read from out there. Creates bloodstone tiles through this little system. And all these red string comparators are reading stuff from the Alchemy Guild up above, from the corporeal crystal cubes, and then it's telling stuff when to craft. And then over here, this is quartz glass automation. Then over here, we have spark automation, and then a bit of the redstone that goes with that. These are growth accelerators that go to our Betweenlands farm up above. And then back in here, the redstone that does the blaze mesh and the corporeal sparks. Over here, this is Eden Arrow automation. Some of these automations aren't used at the moment. This is actually going to be kind of an automation decorative area that we'll be building out. This, of course, is one of our more recent additions, which is making our projectile bases for making spreaders and things like that. That goes through there, and the redstone behind here that controls all of that. Okay, so next up, I guess we'll head over to the library area. Which you can see the blocks kind of change at this point from between stone to scoring bricks. And our dragon meal is over here for a bit of our grid power automation, but also our water wheels are back in here. We'll go ahead and pop over to this side really quick. This is our kind of our plant automation that happens over here. And basically a spreader sends a burst down Drum of the Wild and breaks this stuff off. Right now it is not running, and that's because the mana pool that feeds it is no longer in commission, but that's fine. I've got plenty of stuff built up, and I'll be setting that back up and organizing things out a little bit better here very soon. So, but this is our first, basically our first of our agricraft farms. When we started into mana and we did our coalescence, this is where we came from. Ooh, I might be getting low on that. Might need to get that changed out pretty quick, in fact. Anyways, if we head on down, this will be a large library build that we'll be starting before too long. You can kind of see the block palette here, which is crag rock and juniper, which will be a lot of the colors. And then, of course, bookshelves. Probably a different bookshelf than just vanilla bookshelves. I would use Bibliocraft bookshelves, like frame bookshelves, but realistically, that's a lot of containers to put in place. That it's just, I mean, this is going to be a very large library, so we'll probably have it in a few places, but for general library look, we'll have our, just our regular bookshelves in some form or fashion. Now, if we head down here, very unfinished little area here, but we're going to go ahead and take a look at the smith area, and it's still kind of work in progress. I need to get, this was another build I wanted to get finished before the world upload, but it's just not reasonable. Unless you guys want to wait another, I don't know, week or something for the world upload, because I've already spent so much time. I'm really bad about, I'll start working on a project. I'm like, okay, I need to have it done by this point, or ideally done-ish by this point. But then I'll get carried away and just keep doing things, and I'm like, oh yeah, and there's this, and I need to do this, and I just get kind of run away with it, and I don't know. I worry, I don't know, I spend a lot of time on it sometimes. Back over here, this is automation for a lot of our pulverized stuff and a lot of our alloys. Energetic alloys low right now because it's crafting more sparks. But I've got it turned off at the moment because I've actually got to figure out why it's acting up and sending a little bit extra redstone sometimes. And I've got to mess around with that. But as you can see, there's a little bit extra destabilized redstone. I think it's a world start issue that's causing it, because this does use the wireless redstone. I need to get all that changed over. So anyway, as you can see, it's pumping out though. Basically each of these smelteries that auto creates alloys for us and auto processes our materials. This is all of our material auto processing on this side. It pumps out through casting channels and sends it over to this tank, which then distributes it to casting basins and tables that are laid out over here. So you can see this one is filling up and crafting energetic alloys. So the alloys that we have in place right now, of course, craft exactly amounts that are divisible by 9, so there's never really any leftover. There is a little bit of leftover in some of this. That's because my ore processing, it doesn't limit it at all, and so I don't worry too much about that. But I think most of our alloys, I don't think there's any of those, and so I think we're good on that. And there's a few extra for things like copper and stuff that we tend to produce a bit more of. So over here is for alloys, of course, that are not craftable through smelteries. We do have alloy smelters being fed by a flux field from up above. It's being powered, being fed from spreaders up above, and then feeding into a vibrant capacitor bank, which feeds down into these. on demand. Well, stocking, I mean, keeping things stocked. And then another Tinker Tank controller. This is for just the metals from the ore processing. This is for the alloy-based metals. Then lava storage over here, which we're going to be doing a bit with once we get into wheel automation, making it a little bit better and not quite so manual. Oh yeah, here's where my little tile stuff was. And then over here, this is for stuff that cannot be processed through smelteries. Basically it goes into drawers here, which then feeds into seared furnaces over on this side. And then factorizers break down all the blocks, because I like to store my stuff as ingots. I don't like to use compacting drawers for metal storage personally. So factorizers break down the blocks before sending them to storage. And then we have sag mills that do the processing for the tin dust, copper dust, quartz dust, and coal dust. Which I got to clean this little area up. It's open right now because I've been popping in and out and I'm doing some work and stuff like that. I'll try to remember to fix that before the world upload. So, oh, and then this is bronze blend automation that goes up here. So, okay, so let's go ahead and head back up before we go over to the prison. Which is really the big finished area. Of course, some of this stuff's already done and finished, but the prison's the first big build that's finished out. So up here, this is going to be where our latex processing is automated. We're actually pretty close to having it automatable. It's mostly all set up. We just have to set up the Brandon Carpus and the drop system. So we'll be doing that. Latex processing unit over here, the vats, which will be automated up here. And then this is be kind of, aside from that, it's mostly just going to be like a manual type workshop area. This is where all of our machines are, which are fed power from upstairs. Now, if we head up to here, this leads over to our Cobble Works area. So we have this big monster tree on kind of this lake. Still have a bit of room, work to do in this entrance room, but we're going to be working on that before too long as well, hopefully. Mainly just decorative. It's just one of those things I just have to kind of finish out. A lot of little unfinished things that are steadily getting finished, but it just takes time. And then if we head on down, this takes us into the tree proper. So over here we have our Cobble Works area. So this is kind of one of the issues with wireless redstone. It shouldn't be crafting glass at the moment, as you can see it's backing up. But it is, just because it doesn't seem to ever want to stop running. Sometimes it'll stop running, and then sometimes the wireless redstone just gets stuck, and it does this whole thing. So, and it seems to be stuck at the moment. But anyways, this is for compressed cobble. We actually have our very first octuple compressed cobblestone at the moment. Thanks to all the building that's been going on this week. And then we have storage. This is actually supposed to only be like 2,000, but it just keeps crafting. Because the wireless redstone, even though it's connected properly and everything's working, it just doesn't, I don't know. On a world start, sometimes it doesn't fix itself. So it just stays in the off position and it doesn't shut off anything. And then over here, this is for like general cobblestone production for all of our uses for making different things. And you can see cobblestone dropping ever so often. It's making sands for us. Then over here we have the crazy obsidian gem, which is pumping through and making quadruple compressed obsidian for us. So, you can see some of the redstone back here to the right. And then we have our metamorphic stone automation back in here, so, which is not running at the moment. This one has actually been pretty good about not running when it's not supposed to be, so that's been good, I suppose. And then if we head back out, this doesn't currently go anywhere at the moment. And then back in here, of course, you will see some mobs periodically for kind of sound things, just kind of ambience. We have our Elven Gateway portal back here. If we step through this, this is all the blocks I'm using to step through things. That's ethereal opaque mimic blocks, by the way. But back in here we have our Jade Amaranthus automation, which handles, this room alone pretty much handles keeping specific numbers of mystical flowers automated, keeping specific amounts of petals automated, and then on-demand crafting for our floral powders. So, and this is all handled, you can see back in here, this is our floral powder automation that's back here. Over here, this is our petal automation that's back in here, keeping it stocked to certain amounts. And then back in here is our flower automation that tells it when to stop making flowers, like when to stop breaking them. So, let's see. I guess we're going to take the top section now. So the base feels so small when we go through it on a world tour, because it's like the top section and then the prison, I think, is all that's really left at this point. Up here we have our basically our coal automation, or our mana automation. Right now we just have an Endoflame set up. We will be making some new systems, but this is our Endoflame system, which uses a Daffo meal to push the coal down through here to feed all the different Endoflames and feed them down to these Dreaming Mana pools, which then feed over to these Dreaming Mana pools, which then send them to various places. Over here you can see our power at the moment and the flux field that's being fed, and this is also where I charge our Vibrant Capacitor Bank for our single spawner that's in place right now in the prison, but we're actually going to be moving mana here very, very soon. Now that we've got everything in order for spreaders to be easily crafted / automated, I haven't put the recipe in there for that just yet, but that's because it's kind of been not important, because I've got bases stocked, I've got petals stocked, I've got living wood stocked now at the moment, and so I can just craft them easily by hand whenever I need to, in all honesty. Over here, this is our personal input at the moment, which is an Ender Soul Core. There has been an update for Incorporeal, so we will probably be changing over before too long for the Rod of Fractured Space. All we have to do is set up a new open crate, and there we go, it's done. But I still have this system in place. This system will stay in place because it's going to be used for our quarries, so it's not a big deal, you know. And then over here, I guess I could go to the proper entrance for it. If we step through, of course, this is our Betweenlands tree. To go to the Betweenlands, where most of our building materials come from. And then this overlooks the night market. There is probably going to be some kind of a railing here at some point. In the top of the Alchemists Guild. Still some torches lying around, but, you know, most of the major places that have had some work done, there's no torches, so steadily getting rid of them all. And then this is where we fight the Gaia, just kind of overlooking the night market. Then this we will build out later, which will lead elsewhere. So then, my bed, that's where my bed's located. If we come over to here, of course this is all platforms work here, but over in this little area we have kind of the entrance to a very unfinished room, a very messy room, due to running a metamorphosis here once back when we needed it for crafting runes initially. Now they're automated, but back then they weren't. But anyways, this is going to be kind of the output for our farms. So the stuff comes up, you can see where there's coal. Oh, I still got 32 stacks. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay for essence right now. But anyways, it's running it through a resonator that has 4 speed upgrades. We're probably going to upgrade that a bit later and make it faster, but realistically, we haven't really needed to because we're not pulling a ton of mana consistently. But anyways, it's stocking red coal up here. So, and then over here we have just kind of wood automation coming from Wood Essence. Just for the vanilla woods, we're going to be doing some proper tree farms before too long. I've been really kind of wanting to get onto that because building material purposes. Like the library, I don't want to start really pushing into the library work until we get a tree farm automated and set up. And then this is the remnants from our mana enchanter, which has been partially disassembled for the pylons because it was cheaper, but we will be getting this moved over to the library before too long. And these all feed down, all these holes go down to the farm, but these will eventually be kind of pillars that come up and are kind of hidden away. So anyways, I think that covers most things. If we pop over, I think the last thing to show you, which is the big build for this series so far, and that is the prison. Oh, and this little setup here is for our experience, feeding experience into and out of our mob duplicator, which is generally used for running witches for energetic alloy. So, but anyways, if we head down here, and we go across what's going to eventually be a bridge area that kind of runs across this chasm. This chasm will have a few bridges that span it. But this first one here that we've got kind of started, not finished. But this leads to the prison. I guess I could turn off our UI at this point. But anyways, you can see we have different mob imprisonment tools and soul vials set out and labeled. I did go ahead and made some extra mob imprisonment tools and soul vials just to kind of fill out this, because if you recall, I only had like one or the other for most things. And then a lot of things have soul vials that are inside the mob system. And so those are all cheap for us at this point, so I went ahead and finished a lot of these out. And you could see I did go ahead and add, since the other episode when I showed you this, I added sludges, tar base, towerwood, borers, and slimes, as well as this right here, which is skeletons that go in this one here. So just kind of add like a little bit of a creep factor because they watch you as you're coming into the prison. So, and we got a little bit more storage over on this side, and if we head on in, we have the prison proper. You can see some statues here. These aren't of anybody in particular, but they are holding, these are just flint scythes from tinkers, and just holding those, and just for this top layer, some statues, because of course this top layer will, before too long, will lead up to the warden's office that's up here. So I'm going to turn on UI. It's just easier to bounce this way. But this will eventually lead over to the warden's office. So this area, of course, unfinished, but we can pop up here and get a nice view of the prison. The prison. There's a lot going on in this prison. Let's go ahead, pop on in. And I did get pretty much all the prison cells finished out, including walls, floors, all that stuff. Kind of spruced up here. But you could see all the layout for this prison is pretty much the same. I think that's what made the building of this take so long and just be so draining, is because being a prison with 5 floors and a total of 60 cells, all pretty similar to one another, does wear you out, like mentally, going through this. Going through this whole process. But I'm happy to say that it is pretty well done, except, you know, adding a few more like guard statues and things to the layout. But anyways, if we head on down, we have, this is our main mob system. So, or for right now, you know, this is the mob duplicator. Of course, we're going to be setting up some Botania-based mob systems here pretty soon, and that's what's going to be taking up most of the sale. Well, that and Draconic Evolution spawner systems we're going to be starting to work towards. But anyways, this is just our mob duplicator system, which of course we can hit this weedwood lever here, and it takes out the imprisonment tool. We can switch it out and then put it back in with just a quick click of a button. This lever is for the fan. This was mainly for whenever we run ghasts. This won't be here long term. So, but anyways, if we hit this button here, there's a stinky lever that's here, and it'll start spawning mobs. And it also turns on the mob duplicator as well as the attraction obelisk. which the attraction obelisk will shut down after a little bit of time after the system shuts down. So, and you can see some cages periodically where swamp hags are imprisoned. But yeah, so, and then we have some guards through here. These are the statues I have to add a bit more of. I just haven't gotten to yet. Basically just due to time being the primary thing, because this actually took forever and was very, very mentally draining. And I wanted to get more done, but then, you know, my computer came in. I had to do some testing with that just to make sure everything was working when it first came in, you know, because you have like so long to send parts back and report issues, you know, before you have to pay shipping and all that mess. So, but yeah, so anyways, there's not a bridge on this level. There's a bridge on that level and on that level only. So I guess I could turn off UI at this point. And, but yeah, so I had that. And then of course, weekends, I generally have D&D, so at least for a bit. And so I had that this past weekend. And we started gearing up for a war, so that's going to be exciting. But anyways, I did go ahead. You'll see some shelves on these little edge bits. Of course, on the far sides, there are corporeal crystal cubes, which are eventually going to be read by different sails. They may have some issues when it comes to world upload. That's what I'm dreading. Honestly, when that point comes, I'll probably have everything run. We're probably going to start switching over to corporeal redstone instead of wireless redstone, using corporea for our wireless redstone, which should fix the issues, I think, that wireless redstone are having, is what I'm hoping, because wireless redstone, there's just so many issues with it. I know I've had issues with it in the past, and I'm having them again on this. I don't know why. I don't know why I ever even tried to use it, because it always seems to be broken. But yeah, so anyway, some trophies there, and there will be more trophies added to little nooks a bit later on. So anyways, if we pop down here, we have, well, this little area steps down, and it does on the other side as well. This is kind of where the sails go up and down. And up there, you'll notice that the ceiling, the area above where the sails are going to, it's not finished out. That, of course, is going to be our Well of Souls build that we're going to be starting before too long, which is going to, of course, be Wheel from Blood Magic, where that's all pretty much housed and automated. So we will be working on that here soon, but that's where those sails are going. And if we pop over, but you can see our Blood Magic automation is here. This is powered by not only creatures that spawn or fall into the bone pit, but this is also powered by, it's also powered by a plethora of zombies down below that are sitting on graveyard soil. So that's what's set up over here. Now, one thing to note, and right now it's filling up my blood network again, because I'll let the blood network fill up, and then I'll let it run at 1 tick time on my obsidian for a bit, and then whenever I start getting low, I'll cycle it back. So it's filling back up right now. So I usually only do that whenever I'm like actively paying attention, because otherwise I have had it where I get nausea and have to run upstairs with nausea, and that's horrible to have to do for the record. But anyways, over here you can see that corporeal crystal cubes continue all the way down to here. There's basically 12 sails per floor, and there's 6 corporeal crystal cubes on each side, basically covering half of the sails. There's 5 down these long sections each, and then 2 on the back end here. And then down here, another place to step down and look up. I love these little areas, like being able to look up and see, and look down and see the whole prison at once. It's just great. You'll notice that the prison is kind of junked up and cluttered, and of course that's because it's fallen into kind of a disrepair sort of thing. You know, there's probably not maids in this prison. This place is hell on earth, and I wanted it to feel kind of like that. Of course, a lot of the inspiration for this prison, not being a direct replica, but a lot of inspiration came from the Irithyll dungeon from Dark Souls 3. So, but the last thing over here to show you, of course, if you want to see the upward view, you can see that from this side. You can see this side's a little bit different. Of course, that's where the stairs are all placed out for each floor. But over here, this is basically where I've been spawning out the Wither. This will be getting automated. I am planning on keeping the reinforced obsidian. Of course, if you have the chunks loaded, you don't have to do that. Like with this right here, if they're claimed, not loaded, but claimed, explosions are disabled, but I have this set up just in case that ever changes, because I'd hate for a Wither to get loose in my prison and it not have explosions disabled, you know. Which, explosions not being disabled has always felt really cheaty to me anyways, so I wanted to build based on if they were they weren't disabled, you know. So reinforced obsidian, we will probably change that in due time to witherproof glass, I imagine, and kind of spruce it up a little bit, but it is built with reinforced obsidian. So the wither pretty much is spawned down here in the pit of the prison. So, and yeah, I think with that, I think that kind of finishes our tour. What we've been working on so far. We're probably still going to add some kind of an elevator system. Honestly, probably going to be a little tiles sail that travels up. But right now I've been using that, just kind of jumping it with the longsword to get across those little gaps and everything. So, but yeah, I think this would be the best place to end out. But anyways, the world upload will be available down in the description for this video. So if you're interested in that, feel free to check it out. I will say this base is a bit intensive to run. Also, you will need to add, for the base to really even be here, you're going to have the between lands. You're going to have, which I will have just links in the description down below for all the added mods, as well as the library mods for those mods. But basically, my current loadout right now is, as far as additions to the Celestial Journey Pack, is there's Between Lands that's been added, there's platforms that's been added, there is statues rechiseled that's been added, there is little tiles that's been added, as well as chisels and bits has been removed. There's fairy lights that have been added, and there's architecture craft that has been added. So those 6 mods, as well as all relevant library additions, are added to the pack, and you could probably get by without adding like little tiles right now, because there's a little bit of little tiles work like here, and then, well, actually the whole floor of the smeltery area is little tiles. But there's some work here. All the other cells don't have this yet. I will be adding that. I just haven't gotten around to it. Of course, it'll be pretty easy because I can copy this whole entire thing in one go and just go through copy paste, you know, or go through paste pretty much. But yeah, pretty much platforms, if you don't have that, it's going to wipe out the whole entrance area. Little tiles is going to wipe out the whole smeltery floor. Between Lands is going to wipe out the entire base. This is, of course, if you don't have these mods. Fairy Lights is going to wipe out lights in a couple areas, like the Forge and a couple other places that have Fairy Lights at the moment. But the whole city is going to be getting them here soon once we start working on the city build. Statues is going to wipe out all the statues, of course. So I do highly suggest you have the mods listed down below. Also, the pack, I do have Optifine running at the moment as well. So, just a heads up, this base is a little bit probably resource intensive, so depending on your PC, you may have issues running it, just a forewarning. So, the base as a whole, especially the prison and the night market, as well as kind of the Cobble Works sometimes, depending on what all's running. So, it can be a little bit maybe intensive for you. So just a heads up on that. And I think with that, we're going to end out this first base tour for Celestial Journey. So more to come as we continue the build. Of course, the build being our big primary focus within this series. This build has been massive so far. A lot of work in the first 25 episodes, and a lot more work to come. So this would be, what, episode 26? So I may not even label it as episode 26. I may just label it as World Upload, or World Base Tour and World Upload. So first 25 episodes, a lot of work done. Next 25 episodes, a lot more work to get done in those. So really a lot of our work, the first 25 episodes, of course. This is our big build that we've worked on in the night market, but a lot of it, of course, was just getting initially started and making our life a bit easier. Life's getting easier now, and so hopefully the builds will continue progressing at a decent rate, you know. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the base tour. I hope you guys have been enjoying the series so far. Now that the build and the base tour and everything is at a point where I can put out the world upload, normal video scheduling should be resuming. I have a, let's see, Enigmatic will be coming back up, and I do have another project that I'm working on that videos will start coming out for that. It's kind of a limited spotlight type series that's been highly requested and something that I've been planning on doing, and will now be releasing. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, as always, be sure and hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe if you're not already to stay updated with when new videos come out. If you guys are interested, be sure and check down the description for all the relevant information for the world upload, and I hope to see you guys next time. So until then, as always, do take care, stay safe. I'll see you guys then. Oh, and there's also the framed compacting drawers mod, which does most of our compacting drawers and jar controllers. So I do also highly suggest you have that mod as well. So just a quick heads up there.